Yellow, I'm Dallas, and there's only one reason that we're here. To let it rip. That was really dumb. You probably clicked on this Beyblade video for one of two reasons. You're either a huge Beyblade fan and you're just gonna click on anything Beyblade related, so hopefully we can entertain you, or you might be someone who knows nothing about Beyblade and you're trying to learn a little something. Hopefully we can teach you something. I don't know though. Stick around to find out. What we're gonna do in this video is break Beyblade into its major parts and talk about each part just a little bit. We're gonna talk about the toys, which is probably the most exciting part because that's really what matters in the Beyblade world, the actual Beyblade. But we're also gonna talk a little bit about some of the Beyblade video games, and then we're gonna also talk a little bit about the anime that it's all kind of based off of. And we're probably gonna have to start with our anime because if we don't, some of the other aspects of Beyblade, when I get to them, aren't gonna make a whole lot of sense. So let's talk about the anime. Unfortunately for some of you watching, the only anime out there for you is the big TT anime. You know what I mean? This is not one of those animes. This is definitely a children's anime. At least it was when I was a kid. Haven't watched some of the newer seasons, so I'm not saying there aren't big TTs. You'll have to go watch it to find out for yourself. But when I was a kid, the Beyblade anime was one of those animes that's about spirits imbuing themselves into inanimate objects. You remember how Yu-Gi-Oh? Well, Yugi both had a spirit imbued into himself, and then there were other ancient spirits that imbued themselves into the cards. There's a lot of this going on in anime. If you've never watched anime, just trust me, there's lots of animes where spirits inhabit things. It's just one of the huge, huge tropes within anime. So way back in the day when I first played Beyblade, we're talking back in like 2001, you would buy a Beyblade and every Beyblade would come with this little chip that pops into the top of the Beyblade. And that's where the spirit resides.
Legend has it that there's Beyblades out there that are powered by different kinds of beasts like tigers and lions and even dragons.
The best thing about Beyblade is that it starts out so innocent. It starts out like a lot of TV shows from that period did, as a cash grab, as a toy selling venture, right? So at the beginning of the anime, you've just got kids playing in bowls. They're shooting their Beyblade, their spin tops into these bowls, and they're just battling it out that way. Midway through the series, all of a sudden, all the Beyblade have spirits inside of them and it's starting to get wild, and then by the end of it, they're shooting these Beyblades all over the place. They're no longer just in little bowls, they're traveling on top of rooftops and fighting, and it gets wild.
Pants, I need you to wake up. You need to be my Beyblade spirit. Get inside. You have to, will you be my Beyblade spirit? Go, Pants, go. He's not interested.
But the gist of the anime is this. Spin top, imbued with spirit. Let's fight for the honor. I don't know. Let's fight because we're kids that need to be cool. That's the anime in a nutshell. There's a lot more. There's a lot more seasons. There's a lot more generations where things get crazier and crazier. But to understand the toys and the nature of Beyblade, you just need to understand that. Okay, let's move on to some other ways that you can play Beyblade. Video games, and even a trading card game. Let's start with the video games though, because that's kind of a low point for the Beyblade universe. There just really aren't any great Beyblade video games. There's some okay ones, but I think they all fall a little short because, well, Beyblade is a very physical thing. You have your physical weighted Beyblade that you built yourself, and then you shoot it into a bowl to battle your friend's other physical Beyblade, and that's really hard to replicate on a video game. So let's start with two of them that I own. I own the PlayStation 1 Beyblade video game just called Beyblade. It says Let It Rip on the cover, but the game's just called Beyblade. And to be honest with you, I own over 300 PlayStation 1 games, and this is by far my worst PlayStation 1 game. It's just awful. It's so super basic. You get to launch a Beyblade into arena and kind of get to control it, but not really. And you kind of get to power it up, but not really. It had some selling points back in the day where you could kind of save your Beyblade onto a memory card per se and take it and battle your other friends, but it wasn't good. It is not good at all. The other Beyblade video game that I own is Beyblade G Revolution for the Game Boy Advance. It's okay. It's a little bit better than the PlayStation 1 game, but still not really worth the time. I'd rather just get out my actual Beyblade and play them than sit and play this game. But there are another handful of Beyblade video games out there for several other consoles, the Wii, a couple on the 3DS and the DS. They're okay. I've played some of them when I was younger, but I kind of feel the same way at the end of the day, that I'd just rather be playing regular Beyblade. I did have all of the other Beyblade games in my eBay cart for a little while, thinking about ordering them for this video and to do a short little review on each one of them, but I just figured that'd be a bit overkill, because I mean, how many different ways are there to launch a digital Beyblade into a digital bowl? Right? Now, one more thing when it comes to digital Beyblade games, this is a plug and play. You just plug this into your TV and play some Beyblade right here. It is set up like a normal launcher, but there's no actual grip to shoot your Beyblade. You just pull the ripcord and it measures how hard that you pulled it, and you battle some other Beybladers on your TV. Honestly, it's just as bad as the PS1. You pull the ripcord and there's kind of some animation, and that's really it. It's really not that great. So like I said, Beyblade video games kind of the low point. But hold on one second, there are other ways to play Beyblade that aren't the regular physical Beyblade that are still kind of cool. There is a Beyblade card game.
It could have been very easy to have made this video without mentioning the Beyblade trading card game. But let me show you why I think it's worth a mention, and we'll do so by opening one of these up. Is this the lucky one? Does this have the spirits to call to me? You gotta ask the spirits to give you the right pack. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards in a pack. But the coolest part is that there are stickers in every single pack of Beyblade cards, which is actually very similar to Beyblade themselves, at least originally. When I was a kid and you bought a Beyblade, it came with the stickers to put on yourself. And this is a reason why now if you go to a thrift store and find some old Beyblade, there's like a 50-50 chance they won't have any stickers on them and they'll just look naked. That's because some kids just wouldn't put them on, some kids would color them with markers. There was a huge customization component to Beyblade, and I just absolutely love that the card game built some of that into it. There's several different ways in which you can attach stickers to these cards to customize them and stuff yourself. So that's selling point one for the Beyblade card game. The stickers, the customization. The second one is that this card game is played unlike almost any other card game that I can think of. The card game is set up on a pretty simple color system. You see how there's red, green, and yellow? Well, there is a color wheel for the card game that matches up with this color scheme that basically sets up a game where it happens in quick succession. Not a whole lot longer than a Beyblade match. If I launch two Beyblade right here, you'll see they don't last very long. Now, in the anime, of course, it would go on for episodes. Like Dragon Ball Z, it would be, just episodes of power-up and stuff, right? The card game is more like the real-life Beyblade game. It doesn't go on very long, and I think that's a really interesting aspect, because most card games you'll play, that's not the case. They go on quite a bit longer than this. But they kind of tried to make a Beyblade card game feel a lot like a real Beyblade battle. Just boom, 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 back and forth a couple times, a couple hits, the game's over. And then that way, the card game can be played in really quick succession. You can play several matches, you can play best 2 out of 3, and really have fun with it. So I kind of thought that was cool. Now, let's move on to the toys. Now we are going to move on to what really matters, the toys. To be honest with you, I don't know if I bought Beyblade first as a kid or if I saw the anime first. With Yu-Gi-Oh!, I know that I saw it on TV first, and then magically, some months later, I found the cards in a Walmart without really even putting 2 and 2 together that was kind of the point of the whole thing. I don't remember how that went with Beyblade, but I know as a kid I definitely had Beyblade and watched the anime. I certainly never had this many Beyblade when I was a kid. Honestly, there weren't even this many Beyblade when I was a kid. There was just a few. And of course now, several generations later, there's just almost an infinite amount. Too much to get into everything on this video, but here's a bag full of launchers. Here's a bag full of multiple generations of Beyblade. And here is some of the more odd ones. This is a whole generation of Beyblade that actually tries to bring those spirits that we talked about already to life. So you rip it, and there's a set-apart spinning Beyblade part on the bottom, and then this monster will claw back and forth. 2 of them will fight, and it tries to make it more like it was always supposed to be. Another really interesting thing, here's the original Beyblade launcher. This is what I remember when I was a kid. And then you get into some more serious things. Here's a bigger grip. Here's one that has just a ripcord in it, which is pretty neat. I like that quite a bit. And it goes on and on. There's more and more. We even have a remote control Beyblade launcher, which we will get to in just a minute. But first, you just need to look at how insane all these regular Beyblade can get. Watch this. There are several generations, the earliest generations of Beyblade, where, as I showed you earlier, the chip was removable. But now, some of these newer ones, it almost gets to where there is no chip, or if there is, it screws in instead of clips in. There's just so much to it. So let me show you what a Beyblade looked like when I was a kid. Spirit chip, as we've already discussed. The blade itself, which the spirit chip popped into. A removable weight that came in different shapes and sizes, and then a base. There were an infinite number of ways you could customize your Beyblades. There were Beyblades with helicopter tops, free spinning secondary blades. I even got pretty serious when I was a kid. I put my mad scientist goggles on, and I would actually etch out parts of the Beyblade that were basically built in for safety to keep like a moving part from having too much range of motion. I would get my dad's Dremel those out, and have even more powerful Beyblades, or do some really sneaky stuff to make even heavier weights to re-gear some of the launchers so they would launch harder. I got a little too clever as a kid. But it was really a gateway for me into, some of the making and building of things that I do now. I love the customization of it. I do have to say, I don't want to crap all over the newest generations of Beyblade, but there's just a certain way in which some of the most modern Beyblade don't really have quite as much going on. You'll see once I take this apart, it's just 3 pieces down from 4. There's no removable chip anymore. That's kind of a bummer. It was such a cool part of the original show, but that's not the biggest bummer of all. It's a little bit unfortunate how the weights are all so super similar now. It's just kind of the same kind of weight, and they all have a base, and they're all engineered actually to, if they get hit just the right way, they're engineered to basically explode on the right kind of impact. And this is just one generation. There's some generations in between where they did keep the chip, and the chip is removable with a very specific piece. And I don't know, it's not really my favorite thing, but that's how it comes apart. Honestly, if I could take pieces of my Beyblade from 2001 and combine them with Beyblade from now, I would find that preferable, but that's kind of the thing. This is all preference. Of course, over time, a toy made this long, now 20 years, has to change. I do often sit around and theorize what some of these changes were all about. Were some of them safety? Perhaps. I definitely think this newest generation of Beyblades seem a little bit safer, a little bit more slim, a little less sharp. Not going to hurt as bad if you get shot in the face as some of the original ones would. And I understand that. A lot of toys have changed for these kinds of reasons. They certainly seem a little bit cheaper. That's another thing that happens over long generations of toys. They always get cheaper. Those things are understandable. But it all goes out the window. Listen to me when I say this. Forget everything that I've said about safety. There is one type of Beyblade that I just cannot allow myself to believe that exists. Look at this. I want you to take a look at these. These are called Bay Wheels, with a Z, of course. Now, how do these differ from regular Beyblade? Well, regular Beyblade, you put onto the launcher, you shoot down into a bowl, you battle it out until the end. Bay Wheels, on the other hand, you put them in a very similar launcher, but when you pull the ripcord, they roll forward. Here is a Bay Wheels arena. They roll up the center if you have good aim, and they collide in the middle, and I don't know. There really doesn't seem to be quite as much point to those, because they're going to, most of the time when you play Bay Wheels, they're going to hit each other and bounce away, and, what are you going to do? But I do bring these up to just say that my earlier theories about perhaps the design of Beyblade changing because of safety, I think this throws it out the window, because these seem a little bit dangerous. Now, I'm not here to tell you that Beyblade is dangerous. I really don't think it is. It's pretty safe, and these are rubbery. I don't think there's any metal in them like regular Beyblade. Not even hard plastic, all rubber. But Me and my little brother, when we were kids, we did shoot our Beyblades at each other because we were dumb. But if your kids aren't dumb, they're not going to hurt each other with Beyblade. Now, we've got one more thing to talk about when it comes to the Beyblade toys. My absolute favorite thing in the world. And now we've come to the part of this video that I'm absolutely the most excited about. I present to thee the remote control Beyblade. It has an antenna. I did not make this up. This exists. I did not create it in my mad scientist basement. Look at this. The Beyblade charges off of 2 AA's, and you put it on the launcher just like a normal Beyblade launcher. You pull the ripcord, and ideally, if it works right, you're supposed to be able to push or pull the trigger, and what I assume, and we're going to take this part to find out for sure, I assume there's some sort of weight or spinning mechanism inside that'll make it lean one way or the other, according to which way you push or pull the trigger. We have a problem, though. If I put the Beyblade on here, and I switch it on, you will see that the light does come on. And listen, it's working. That spinning mechanism is working while it's on there. I've had this on here all day and it has not charged, which means the original batteries inside of this remote control Beyblade are dead. But that's okay because I have the super ultimate awesome battery box where I keep all matters of AA, AAA, and odd batteries that might come up in my weird collecting habits. So I actually am lucky enough to have some batteries left over for this Beyblade from another project that took this weird battery. And just wait till we get in here. Some of you, I bet, are not going to know that this battery exists. I want you to comment below if you have ever seen this battery. You see that battery? Does that look odd to you? Look at it. It's a joke. Now, let me tell you why it's peculiar. I'm going to pull out a regular old AAA battery from the old battery sorter box. And you're going to see pretty quickly they're the exact same diameter, just different length. This is basically a 1/3 AAA. That's the proper way to look that up. 1/3 AAA. They took old boy AAA and sliced them and diced them into 3s. And then that way you can put AAA batteries into your smaller devices. I just thought it was weird. It's like the second time ever that I've seen this battery. I shall retrieve the scissors. Okay, it's overkill, I understand, but... See that? I just threw my ring. Oh! It shut the battery out! Oh! What does that mean? Okay, listen. We're good. Now I just gotta put the screws back in and let it charge for a little while. I really have no understanding of how long 1/3 of a AAA battery is going to take to charge. There's a really weird way in which actually having control of my Beyblade makes me feel a certain kind of way. Oh yeah, you have a Beyblade? Well, my Beyblade launcher has an antenna, so, you know, I'm clearly better than you. Although I can't get this screw back in, it's working. All right, let's give it a minute to charge. Just a minute. We're not going to wait that long. I don't think it needs that long. I think it's just like leave it on there a minute or two before you let it rip, and that's that. Okay. I'll be RB. Prepare the arena. Ripcord, ripcord. I need a ripcord. What kind of ripcord does this take? I think this is old enough that it actually takes the classic ripcord. So, I'll be RB. Have no fear. I have a gigantor bag of nothing but ripcords. That's a 2-gallon bag. That's a 2-gallon bag of ripcords. Should we do blue to match or orange to not match? I like anarchy. Screw the blue. Well, now I match the stadium. It's okay. These things don't matter. These are irrational thoughts. Now, it's good to see the launcher works. It is really just the bottom half of the standard launcher. Sometimes they make bigger launchers that are fancy with fancy things. To compare real quick, because this has these battery mechanisms in it, you can kind of see here how here's just like standard Beyblade. You see how the base here is just kind of chunkier and more ridiculous just to fit in all of the extra components. I also don't love that this doesn't go all the way down, but what are you going to do? You've got a remote control Beyblade. Stop complaining. What other kid do you know that has a remote control Beyblade? Now it's just... hello? Okay. Alright, are you ready? It works. Listen. We're good. Okay, here we go. Pulling the trigger. Oh! It makes it go wild. Okay, the other way. Clockwise! Oh! Counterclockwise, kind of. It's trying. This is nutso. All right. That was so much better than I thought it could be. I mean, honestly though, I feel like, look at this. It's already spinning out. That's kind of lame. Maybe I didn't pull it hard enough. I don't want to break this, so I'm not just going to He-Man this thing. But it works. Should we do like an actual Beyblade battle? Let's do it. So what I'm going to do is launch a classic Beyblade as hard as I can because I can stand to spare a launcher like that. And then I'm going to send the remote control one in after it and see if we can defeat the original. Are you ready? Let it rip! Oh! See, that's so much faster than the other one. Are you ready? Well, turns out the remote control Beyblades suck! But it's still awesome. Maybe I should we try it again? That felt really anticlimactic. Alright, I need to like launch it in there without hitting it too hard. Okay, we're in there. Now I'm pulling the trigger. Oh! That's actually pretty good. That's if you don't lose as soon as you pull the ripcord, it's actually quite effective. As soon as I gave it that reverse trajectory, it knocked that Beyblade out. Well, this is my new favorite toy. I'm going to start carrying this around with me in my bread truck as I drive about Phoenix. If you ever see me on the streets, stop me, challenge me to a Beyblade battle. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get the old remote control. I will beat you. All right!
And there you have it. That's all I have to say about Beyblade. I know there's some people watching that know a great deal more about it, and there's so many seasons of Beyblade now that are out that we could talk about, but this isn't that video. This was just, you know, a Beyblade primer. I hope those of you who didn't know so much about Beyblade maybe learned just a little bit. You guys comment below before we get out of here and let me know what you think about Beyblade, how you have interacted with Beyblade over the last several years. Did you remember it from when you were a kid like me? Do you have some kids that play with it now? Either way, I'd like to know in the comments below. Before we get out of here, hit that subscribe button. As of posting this video, we're almost to 2,000 subs, so I'd really appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That's it, guys. Come back next time, and until then, peace.